Why is it that so many of us dive headfirst into relationships, only to surface months later, wondering how we missed so many red flags? You meet someone, there's chemistry, everything feels right, and before you know it, you're emotionally invested. Sometimes before you truly understand who they are beneath the surface. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself saying, "If only I had known this sooner"? We've all been there, caught up in the exhilarating rush of new connection. But here's the truth. Those feelings, as powerful as they may be, can blind you to compatibility issues that matter in the long run. Today, we're exploring 7 essential questions you should ask her before your emotions take the wheel. These aren't just casual conversation starters. They're windows into who she really is and whether your paths are truly meant to align. So let's begin with question number 1. What are you looking for right now? Simple. Director. Necessary. It's amazing how many people skip this fundamental question, afraid that asking might somehow break the magic of those early moments. But when you don't ask, you create stories in your mind about where things are heading, often based on nothing more than hope. When you ask this question, listen carefully, not just to her words, but to the consistency between what she says and how she acts. If she says she wants something casual but texts you good morning every day, there's a disconnect worth exploring. The right person won't be scared away by this question. They'll appreciate your directness and the opportunity for clarity. Pause. Think about the last time you assumed you were on the same page with someone, only to discover you were reading entirely different books. Let's move on to question 2. How do you handle conflict? This question reveals more than you might think, because it's not a matter of if conflicts will arise, it's when, and how someone responds tells you everything about their emotional maturity. Does she shut down completely? Does she become defensive? Or does she approach disagreements with curiosity and a genuine desire to understand your perspective? Listen for signs that she can disagree respectfully, that she's willing to be wrong, and that she sees conflicts as opportunities to grow closer, rather than reasons to grow apart. Many of us learn our conflict resolution styles in childhood, watching how our parents navigated their disagreement. These patterns run deep and are incredibly difficult to change without awareness. By asking this question early, you're not looking for perfection, you're looking for self-awareness. Someone who understands their patterns and is working to improve shows emotional intelligence that's essential for lasting connection. Now for question 3. What role does your family play in your life? Family dynamics shape us in ways we don't always recognize. They influence our expectations, our communication patterns, and our deepest beliefs about relationship. When you ask about her family, you're gaining insight into the relationships that formed her understanding of love and connection. You're learning about boundaries and values that might be non-negotiable. Listen to how she talks about her parents, her siblings. Is there warmth in her voice? Resentment? Does she maintain healthy boundaries while staying connected? And remember that you're not just dating her. You're dating into a family system with its own unspoken rules. Understanding that system early helps you navigate potential challenges with greater clarity. Let's continue with question 4. What are your non-negotiables in a relationship? Every relationship requires compromise, but there are certain things, core values, lifestyle choices, fundamental needs that shouldn't be compromised, no matter how strong the attraction. When you ask about her non-negotiables, you're inviting an honest conversation about what matters most to each of you. Maybe it's having children, maybe it's living in a particular location, perhaps it's about political values that inform how you both move through the world. Listen carefully to how she articulates her boundaries. Someone who can clearly express what they need demonstrates self-knowledge and respect, both for themselves and for you. And be honest about your own non-negotiables in return. This exchange creates a foundation of authenticity that serves your connection. Moving to question 5. How do you show and receive love? We all give and receive love differently. Some feel most connected through conversation, others through physical touch. Some express care through acts of service or thoughtful gifts. When you ask this question, you're discovering whether she's thought about her emotional needs and whether she can articulate them clearly. You're seeing whether she's curious about your needs in return. Listen for adaptability. The most successful relationships aren't those where both people have identical needs. They're the ones where both partners are willing to learn and occasionally step outside their comfort zones to meet each other halfway. If you're someone who needs verbal affirmation, but she rarely expresses emotions out loud, the question becomes, is she open to growing in that area? Are you willing to recognize the other ways she shows love? Think about it. How many relationships struggle simply because two people are speaking different emotional languages without a translator? On to question 6. What are you working on in yourself right now? This question reveals volumes about her self-awareness, her capacity for growth, and her willingness to take responsibility for her own happiness. Someone who can thoughtfully answer understands that personal development doesn't end. It's a lifelong journey. They recognize their own patterns, their strengths, their blind spots. Listen for humility in her response. Does she acknowledge areas where she's still growing? Can she talk about past mistakes and what she's learned? Or does she present herself as a finished product with nothing left to learn? Be wary of someone who can't identify any growth edges in their life. We're all works in progress. Pretending otherwise suggests either a lack of self-awareness or a fear of vulnerability. Share your own growth areas in return. This creates a culture of mutual support that can weather the inevitable challenges ahead. And finally, question 7. What does a fulfilling life look like to you? This question goes beyond relationship compatibility to something even more fundamental: life compatibility. Two people can have amazing chemistry and still want vastly different things. One might dream of living in a bustling city, building a career. The other might envision a quieter life focused on family or living close to nature. Neither vision is wrong, but they might be wrong for each other. When you ask about her vision of a fulfilling life, you're looking for alignment in your core values and aspirations. You're seeing whether your paths are moving in compatible directions. Listen for passion in her response and notice whether there's room for partnership in her vision. Does she see intimate relationship as central to her fulfillment? Does she speak in terms of I or we when imagining the future? Take a breath. Envision your own version of a fulfilling life. What elements feel non-negotiable? What areas have flexibility? Now, let's bring these 7 questions together. When asked thoughtfully, these questions create a map of compatibility that goes deeper than surface attraction. They reveal the substance of who she is, not just the chemistry between you. How she responds to these conversations matters as much as her answers. Does she engage openly? Does she ask you the same questions in return? Is she curious about your thoughts and values? Remember that these questions aren't a one-time checklist. They're ongoing explorations that deepen as your connection develops. And sometimes, the most loving conclusion after these conversations is recognizing that you're not right for each other. That recognition, painful as it might be, is ultimately an act of kindness to you both, because catching feelings for someone incompatible with your core needs isn't romantic. It's a setup for heartache that could have been avoided with greater intentionality. The right person won't fear these questions. They'll welcome the opportunity to be known, to share who they truly are beyond the carefully curated dating persona we all initially present. So before you give your heart away, before you build elaborate futures in your mind, pause, ask, listen, and trust what you hear, both what's said and what remains unspoken. Your future self will thank you for this courage, for loving yourself enough to seek clarity before commitment, for recognizing that the right connection doesn't require you to abandon your needs or silence your doubt. The most beautiful relationships aren't built on fantasy. They're built on seeing each other clearly, accepting what you see, and choosing each other anyway, with open eyes and open hearts. That clarity begins with these 7 questions. The rest is up to you.